You ever just look at the world and feel completely overwhelmed? And you wonder, what can one person possibly do to fix any of it? Well, back in 1979, the philosopher Krishnamurti got together with a small group to tackle that very question. And their answer? Well, it might just change the way you see everything.
So this was their starting point. In a deteriorating world, what is the correct action? I mean, that question feels just as urgent today as it did back then, doesn't it? This isn't about politics or some grand abstract theory. It's about the most fundamental challenge there is, how to live. And this one question, it drives their entire investigation.
So picture this, a seminar at a place called Brockwood Park. But this wasn't some stuffy academic debate, not at all. It was a real, shared investigation, a deep dive into the very nature of change. And the conclusion they reached would challenge the very foundation of how we think about fixing our world.
Okay, so their first move was a big one. They completely reframed the problem. They basically said, to understand a world that's in chaos, you can't start by looking out there. Nope, you have to turn that lens right back around and look inward.
And that brings us to their core premise. Krishnamurti says that this division we all make between ourselves and society, it's an illusion. As he puts it, the world is me, and the me is the world. And for him, this wasn't just some poetic, nice-sounding metaphor. He saw it as an absolute, undeniable fact.
So this sets up a huge clash of ideas. The common approach is to change the environment to fix the person. Fix the system and people will get better. But what the group argued is that this has it completely backward. You can't fix society unless the individual human being who actually created that society changes first. And this leads us directly into the next and really critical part of this whole inquiry. If I am the problem, if my own consciousness is a reflection of the world's consciousness, then what is the correct way for me to act?
This is the question they really wrestled with. And again, it's not about some grand political gesture. It becomes intensely personal. It's like, what am I, as a human being living right here in this messy, disorderly society, actually supposed to do with my life?
The group pretty quickly realized that our usual ideas about action are all over the place. They're fragmented, even contradictory. Is it just following a thought? Is it always about what we can get out of it, a reward or punishment? Is it just a product of our conditioning, our background, our culture? They saw that if my action comes from my motive and your action comes from yours, then our actions are just going to clash forever.
And then they land on this completely radical redefinition. What if correct action wasn't about doing something based on a conclusion you've reached? What if the action was the seeing itself, a pure, totally undistorted observation of the facts? This right here, this is the key that unlocks the rest of their entire inquiry. Okay, but this idea of pure observation immediately hits a massive wall. And the thing is, this obstacle isn't outside of us. It's actually woven into the very fabric of how we see the world.
So what's stopping us? The answer they found isn't something external. It's the very structure of our own minds, the way we perceive reality. It's something every single one of us carries with us.
And they came up with this really powerful metaphor for it, the bundle of prejudice. Now, this isn't about having one specific bias. It's the entire collection of mental filters that colors everything we see. It's the whole bag we're carrying, not just one little thing inside it.
So what's in this bundle? Well, essentially, everything. All our past experiences, our firm judgments and opinions, our likes and dislikes, our memories, our hopes, our desires, our entire cultural upbringing, it all gets thrown in there. It's the grand total of our past, and it's shaping how we see the present, right now.
So if this bundle of prejudice is the problem, the solution seems kind of simple, right? Just observe it and then change it. But this is where things get really, really challenging. This leads us to the most difficult illusion to break through in this whole inquiry. This is the question that changes absolutely everything. When I say, I am observing my prejudice, is the I, the one who's doing the observing, separate from the prejudice it's looking at?
I mean, our entire upbringing just screams, yes! We're taught from day one that there's a thinker who is separate from the thought. There's a little controller in our head who can manage the bundle. And this belief allows us to say, I must change my prejudice, which creates this constant division, this conflict inside ourselves.
And then comes the bombshell. Krishnamurti asserts that this separation is a complete illusion. There is no observer and a bundle. The observer is the bundle. That whole collection of prejudices, memories, and desires, that's not something you have. It's what you are. There's no separate person looking at it.
The psychological implication here is just profound. Think about it. As long as we believe we're separate from our thoughts, we're in a constant air battle. We're always trying to control or suppress or change parts of ourselves, and this fight just consumes a massive amount of mental energy. But the moment you realize I am the bundle, that internal war just ends. The division collapses, and all that energy that was wasted on the conflict is suddenly available.
So, what does this all lead to? What happens when that inner conflict ends and all that energy is conserved? Well, that's when a completely different kind of action can emerge. This is the final big shift in perspective. The old way, the illusion, is this constant struggle, a separate me trying to wrestle with the contents of its own mind. The new way is just choiceless observation. There's no one trying to do anything to the bundle, because there is no one separate from it. There's only the clear seeing of what is. Now, it's really important to understand that this doesn't lead to being passive, not at all. The seminar concludes that when the observer, the very center of that inner conflict, dissolves, a totally different kind of action emerges. It's not my action or your action, it's simply action. The observation itself is the action. And that leaves us with the ultimate question, the one that turns this entire inquiry right back on ourselves. It's easy enough to understand this idea intellectually, but the real challenge is this. Can you look at your own bundle of conditioning without the you who is conditioned doing the looking? That is the exploration.